There are moments when you want to pray, but you feel completely empty. No words, no strength, no energy left. If this is you, stay here. This prayer is for your heart.
There are forms of tiredness that cannot be seen in the eyes, cannot be explained by tests, and are not relieved by a single night's sleep. It is the tiredness of the soul, silent, deep, persistent. It appears when, even while fulfilling all your obligations, something inside you feels drained. When the days go by but their meaning fades, when even what once brought joy now feels distant. This tiredness is not weakness, not a flaw, not a lack of faith. It is many times a sign that something in your life is asking for attention, care, and pause. When the soul is tired, it is as if the whole world becomes a little grayer, and you have the impression of walking in quicksand, with emotions heavier than your own body. Before we move on, if these words resonate with you, subscribe to the channel, like this video, and leave a comment sharing how you have been feeling. This greatly helps this space reach other people who also need peace. When the soul is tired, one of the first reactions is often the desire to run away, to flee from conversations, responsibilities, noisy environments, even from yourself. However, true peace does not come from running away, but from encounter, an encounter with who you are, with what you feel, with what has become important, and also with what has lost its meaning. Find peace here is not an invitation to ignore reality, but to create an inner space where reality can be seen with more clarity, less noise, and more compassion. This here may be a physical place, a moment of the day, a simple practice of introspection, or even the silence you choose to cultivate amid the constant noise that surrounds you. Many mental health studies show that emotional exhaustion and the feeling of overload are directly linked to a pace of life in which rest has been turned into guilt. There are those who feel embarrassed just thinking about stopping, as if personal worth were measured only by constant productivity. Yet when the soul is tired, insisting on the same pace is not a sign of strength, but of abandoning oneself. Finding peace here begins with the courage to slow down, even if only a little, and to recognize, I need care. This simple phrase is often the first act of kindness toward yourself after a long time. Some people, when they hear this idea, react by thinking they have no time to rest, meditate, or reflect. Perhaps you yourself feel that you can barely complete what is already on your daily to-do list. However, inner peace does not require endless hours or complex rituals. Sometimes it opens in brief pauses, a few minutes of conscious breathing, walking in silence, stepping away from your phone, or even savoring a cup of coffee without hurry, simply being present in that moment. What turns an ordinary pause into an encounter with peace is intention, being fully there, recognizing your own need for rest, and not merely filling the space between obligations. When the soul is tired, it is common to have difficulty even naming what is happening inside. Everything seems confused, mixed together: sadness, frustration, fear, discouragement, irritation. That is why an important step on this path of rediscovering peace is learning to listen to what you feel without judging yourself. You do not need perfect words. You just need to begin to look within with sincerity. Ask yourself, what is hurting in me? What did I stop doing that once made me feel good? What have I been enduring in silence for far too long? These questions, if faced with honesty and calm, can open windows of understanding that have been closed for a long time. A simple example helps to understand this process. Imagine someone who for years has dedicated themselves to work, attends to everyone around, meets deadlines, solves problems, but long ago stopped doing things that fed their essence: reading in silence, walking in parks, having long conversations with friends, writing, listening to music with attention. Little by little, this person begins to feel an emptiness they cannot explain. They think they need a vacation, a radical change, or something grand. However, many times, what the soul is asking for is the restoration of small habits that once gave it meaning and rest. It is these seemingly simple gestures that bring color back to life. Finding peace here also means learning to set healthy boundaries. The soul becomes deeply tired when you say yes to everything and everyone, but say no to yourself. When you accept burdens that are not yours to carry, expectations that do not belong to you, standards that do not match your inner truth, a painful mismatch is created between what you live and who you are. Over time, this mismatch turns into heaviness, fatigue, and in many cases, emotional illness. Saying enough to some external demands is not selfishness. It is respect for your human condition. It is the recognition that you also deserve care. In highly pressured contexts, such as competitive work environments or conflict-ridden family relationships, setting boundaries may seem impossible. Yet the building of inner peace begins with small acts of self-affirmation, allowing yourself a few minutes of silence upon waking, refusing to participate in destructive conversations, turning off notifications at certain times, recognizing that you do not need to respond to everything immediately. These are discrete attitudes, but together they create a territory of breathing room, an inner here that no one can invade without your permission. Another important aspect is dialogue with your own story. The soul does not grow tired only because of today's excess, but also because of unhealed memories from yesterday. Emotional wounds left unresolved, losses that were never mourned, frustrations kept in silence. These all form a backdrop that makes the present feel heavier. Finding peace here often involves accepting the need to look at your own journey with respect, to acknowledge old pains, to give yourself the right to feel and to cry over what you swallowed for so long. There is no true peace built on denial. Peace comes when truth is welcomed with gentleness. On this journey, you may realize that you need help, and that does not diminish your worth in any way. On the contrary, it reveals maturity. Seeking a mental health professional, talking to someone you trust, looking for spiritual or therapeutic guidance can be essential when the soul is exhausted. In various studies, the presence of qualified emotional support is associated with reduced symptoms of anxiety, depression, and stress. This is not about weakness, but about responsibility toward yourself. Just as you seek a doctor when facing intense physical pain, it is wise to seek support when the suffering is internal. At the same time, it is essential to remember that the path to peace is not linear. There will be days of greater serenity and others of greater restlessness. There will be significant progress and perhaps relapses into old patterns. This does not mean you are failing. It only means you are human. A tired soul does not rise again in a rush, but with consistency. Small daily gestures of care, repeated over time, build a more solid base of stability than grand decisions made in moments of despair. It is in the continuity of care that peace, little by little, ceases to be just a distant desire and becomes a real experience. Finally, in this first part, it is important that you listen respectfully to your own inner voice. Perhaps, while reading, some scenes have come to mind. Some specific situations may have stood out. Do not ignore these signs. They may point to areas of your life that need urgent attention, necessary changes, or at least a pause for reflection. When the soul is tired, it speaks through symptoms, discomfort, feelings of emptiness or misalignment. Listening to these messages, instead of drowning them out with distractions, is one of the deepest acts of self-love. Thus, the invitation remains: when your soul is tired, allow yourself to find peace here, in this space of honesty, pause, and care. If in the first part, the invitation was to recognize the soul's tiredness and take the first steps toward an inner space of rest, now the path goes deeper. It is time to understand how to remain in this peace, even while the world around you remains demanding and noisy. Peace is not the absence of problems, but a different way of relating to them. When the soul is tired, everything seems urgent, threatening, disproportionate. Finding peace here involves changing how you see what you live, reorganizing priorities, redefining values, and accepting that it is not possible to carry the weight of everything. A fundamental dimension of this peace is presence. The tired mind tends to move constantly. It relives past mistakes, anticipates future disasters, compares itself to others, builds scenarios of fear and inadequacy. The soul, in turn, finds rest in the present, in the concrete, simple now. Being present does not mean denying the past or ignoring the future. It means recognizing that the only reality in which you can truly act and breathe is the moment in front of you. Small mindfulness exercises, such as focusing on your breath for a few moments, observing bodily sensations, or noticing details of the environment, help to anchor the mind and ease the inner turmoil. Consider, for example, someone dealing with an exhausting routine of work, family responsibilities, and personal pressures. When this person comes home, instead of allowing themselves a few moments of quiet presence, they keep mentally reviewing office problems, anticipating arguments that may never happen, feeling guilty for not being able to handle all demands. Over time, home ceases to be a refuge and becomes merely an extension of external pressure. If, however, this person begins to cultivate the habit of, upon arriving, breathing deeply, turning off notifications for a few minutes, and consciously noticing the space they are in, they already create a brief here of peace that softens the weight of everything else. The soul's peace is also linked to coherence between what you believe and what you live. A strong source of inner fatigue is a life conducted in contradiction to your own values. When, out of fear, conformity, or the need for acceptance, you repeatedly act against what you believe, the result is usually a silent weariness. Conversely, deciding to align behaviors and choices with your fundamental principles, even if that demands gradual changes, generates a sense of integrity that nourishes peace. No one finds lasting rest while living roles that do not correspond to their deepest truth. Another pillar of this inner peace is the practice of acceptance. Acceptance does not mean passively resigning yourself to everything or giving up on important changes. It means recognizing that there are aspects of life you cannot control, other people's decisions, unexpected events, physical limitations, the natural course of time. The soul grows excessively tired when it insists on controlling the uncontrollable, when it blames itself for what lies beyond its reach. Acceptance, on the other hand, frees energy for what truly can be transformed: your own thoughts, attitudes, responses, and choices. In contexts of suffering, acceptance often becomes a turning point. People who go through losses, sudden changes, or deep frustrations may initially fight reality, as if refusing it could make it disappear. Yet with time, many discover that only by accepting the fact, "This happened, and it hurts me," can they begin a true healing process. Peace does not come from pretending that nothing affected you, but from bravely admitting that you were hurt and even so can keep walking in your own way, at your own pace. There is yet another essential dimension in building peace: lucid gratitude. This is not about forcing artificial optimism or ignoring suffering, but about learning to recognize, even amid difficulties, small signs of beauty, support, and care. Studies in psychology show that practicing honest and regular gratitude, whether briefly writing down 3 things you are grateful for each day or mentally noting simple acts of kindness received, contributes to a more balanced perspective and strengthens resilience in times of crisis. A tired soul grows stronger when, alongside what hurts, it begins to see what remains alive and good. It is also important to understand that peace has much to do with the environment around you. Disorganized physical spaces, excessively noisy or saturated with stimuli, tend to amplify inner fatigue. Whenever possible, creating a concrete place of rest, a corner of the house, an armchair, a garden, a simple table with a notebook and a cup of tea, can work as an anchor of serenity. It does not need to be anything sophisticated. It just needs to be a space that represents, for you, a place of breathing. As you occupy this place often, the mind gradually begins to associate it with the idea of pause and safety. Human relationships also have a great influence on the state of the soul. There are people who lift us up, listen to us, welcome us, and there are relationships that drain us, diminish us, make us feel constantly inadequate. When the soul is tired, it becomes particularly important to discern which connections nourish peace and which erode it. This does not mean discarding people lightly or breaking ties recklessly. It means, first of all, recognizing limits, how much of yourself you can offer without erasing who you are. To what extent can a particular relationship be adjusted through honest dialogue? In some cases, it will be necessary to create distance. In others, to strengthen communication. In all cases, it will be necessary not to forget yourself. As this path of peace is built, compassion for yourself takes on a central role. In a culture that values performance so highly, it is not uncommon for people to be extremely harsh with themselves, criticizing every failure, minimizing every achievement, constantly comparing themselves with what they see in others. This inner stance, though it may appear at first glance to be a push toward improvement, in fact feeds the soul's exhaustion. Self-compassion, however, invites you to treat yourself as you would treat someone you love, with firmness when necessary, but also with understanding, patience, and respect for your own limits. You may ask how, in practice, this compassion is expressed. It shows itself when you recognize a mistake, but choose to learn from it instead of insulting yourself. When you acknowledge a limitation, but do not place yourself below others. When you admit your tiredness and allow yourself to rest, without guilt. Self-compassion does not remove responsibility, it only refuses cruelty. And a soul treated without cruelty over time finds more fertile ground in which to flourish in peace. Finally, there is a silent and profound dimension of peace that many call spirituality. This is not necessarily about a specific religion, but about the perception that life has a meaning that goes beyond the sum of daily tasks, that you are connected to something greater, whether you understand that greater is God, as life itself, as purpose, or as the network of people you love. When the soul is tired, remembering this belonging to something that transcends it can be a great source of comfort. Simple spiritual practices, such as praying, meditating, contemplating nature, reading texts that uplift the spirit, help you reconnect with this broader dimension and realize that, even amid the weight, you are not completely alone. As we end the second part, the invitation remains the same, though it may now have new nuances for you. When your soul is tired, find peace here. Here, in the present that opens with each conscious breath. Here, in small daily gestures of care and kindness toward yourself. Here, in the healthy boundaries you learn to establish. Here, in the relationships that sustain you, in the quiet beauty that persists around you, in the spirituality that inspires you. Peace is not a distant state reserved for a few. It is a possible path, paved by daily choices, even if discreet. And whenever you feel the weight return, remember that you can come back to this here, an inner place of rest, silence, and truth, where your tired soul is received not with demands, but with welcome and hope.